everybody, and welcome back for Season 2, Episode 1 of the Frame by Frame UX podcast. We are your hosts, William Carson and Zach Orleski, and we have quite a few changes for you this season. First of all, as you can see, video. So if you're watching on YouTube or any of the other video hosting sites, you're going to see our faces. If you're still listening on Spotify or any of the other ones, too bad. We're going to describe anything that we ever do visually as best as we can via voice, so we clue you in what's going on in case we do have an episode like that. Next, we do have shorter episodes for you this season. We're trying to stick to the 20 to 30 minute range, and we are putting them out on Sundays and Wednesdays. The Sunday episodes will be called in-frame episodes. That's where we're going to talk about more industry-specific items and job-seeking specific items. Wednesdays will be out-of-frame episodes, where we're talking about our interests or anything that we start to just stray off topic from. In previous episodes, you've probably heard us talking about different video games, movies, restaurant chains, etc. that we've all grew up with. And so the out of frame episodes on Wednesdays will be the home for those conversations.
The rambling and banter.
Exactly. Yes. Another big change for us is that Cross is taking a break. For some personal reasons, he is leaving the public job seeking, the world of public job seeking, and he's taking some personal time. We wish him the best, and if he decides to return one day, we'd be happy to have him on video as well. Before we get into our episode topic, I just wanted to mention that I did secure a full-time product design role. It's at the company I've been volunteering for a long time, and last week we were recording in early April. Last week was my first full-time week, and I had a great time, so excited to keep going with that. But for this week, we wanted to talk about giving and receiving feedback as a new designer or as a designer who's been doing it now for 6+ months. Zach, what's your experience been like so far?
As a designer, giving and receiving feedback?
The merger of both of them. The intersection.
I have a long history with design and other fields in the creative realm, and I would say feedback still hasn't changed. It's always going to be the same. You'll get good feedback. Some people can really give great feedback, and then you get a lot of very vague or terrible feedback, which is just torture on any sort of design field or creative person. Yeah, we'll cover why, but it's really torturous when you get feedback, and I wouldn't even call it feedback at that point because it's so vague. You're like, and I think my favorite line is, "We're in the right direction." That's my favorite line you get from people.
That sounds bureaucratic, almost.
Yeah, like it's slightly asinine too at the same time, because you're like, well, great, like you can be on the right road and miss every exit you need, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's funny. My experience has been like 0 time wasted with any sort of feedback. Since I'm in such an early startup phase, like there is no time for wasting time. It's just like if I make a poor design decision, my boss just tells me in plain language with like no adjectives. He doesn't exaggerate. It's just, hey, we'd never want to do this because XYZ.
This is the best possible feedback you can get, is to the point, and like no extra spice added to it, because sometimes that can come off different ways. People read people different, so it's better just to use straight language and tell somebody what is going on. But do you get people that suggest the solution to the problem then, or what they would rather have? I mean, sometimes that's great to get some kind of opinion, but sometimes it's better just to leave it at the feedback instead of like, but you could.
It's rare for me because it's almost entirely just me and my boss. So I don't really get competing viewpoints unless it's me versus him on something. But we did bring in someone new about 2 months ago to help us with growth. But she does have a little bit of experience with design as well. So I've gotten some feedback from her. And some of the feedback was super useful, which I have implemented. Some of it was just like, okay, I don't really see how this is going to really change anything. I'm probably not going to do it. Which then also made me think, like, how do I tell the person, yeah, I'm not following your feedback?
They'll see it. Like that's the thing about feedback. Like, okay, you gave me feedback and I viewed that particular one comment as not useful. So I'm not going to do it. And you'll notice when it's there or not there. And sometimes people don't say anything, and then maybe they felt a certain way about it. So the next time they might ask you instead of it being feedback, then it's like, so what did, like, whatever came of this? Then I offered some input, and then you can actually dig a little deeper with it, because it's not a general feedback. Like, it's not, I just need an opinion to make it a decision, or to make up my mind, or maybe get something like, we had somebody not like a color in our product at first. And I was like, I didn't think anything of it because it had been agreed upon by the majority before. And so we're going with it. It's a really nice accent too. And then later we used it on something else, and they're like, so I really have to say it again. I don't like that color. And I was like, but like, why? What is it? And they're like, I don't know. It's just something about that color. And then I explained why I'm using it that way, and that most people enjoyed the colors because it's a good color combination anyway. And yeah, it was just funny because my explanation, they understood why I was doing it, and I was trying to understand what they didn't like about it and why. And I know it's only a color, but if it affects one person or they don't like it, you want to know why, so that way maybe you can bring it to the next stage of user and be like, okay, how many users actually don't like this color? Maybe we should change it to improve the experience of using our app with more people. But it turned out his reasoning wasn't, it just wasn't there. Like, he just personally didn't like that color or whatever.
He has the ick with that color.
Yeah. So we left it because it didn't matter. But yeah, it's it's better to just get that straight feedback and not mess with opinions. How much experience do you have with one person valuing their opinion over the rest of the feedback? Like, well, I said this, so it has to be that way.
I kind of defer to my boss on most things. He is the founder, and this is my first foray into anything design or product related. So if we differ on a point, I kind of just shrug and say, "Yep, it's your way." But I've never gotten that the bullheaded, arrogant version of that, which I'm sure people are getting from bosses that aren't as fun to work with.
Yeah.
So I'm fortunate there.
No, that's super. He actually sounds like somebody that I would like to work for, because he gives good feedback, or just straight feedback. Like, that's all you need. There's nothing attached to it. This is just the vision, and maybe it fits or doesn't fit. So,
and I've actually tried to replicate that same style of feedback giving with anyone who I'm helping out. So like there's one Career Foundry student who I've been trying to help out as long as I could. He got his last version of the portfolio ready. I gave him a short video. I need to give him a couple more short videos because I forgot to go back to it. But I made sure, like, as few adjectives as possible, because adjectives tend to bring in a lot of opinions, and opinions don't really help when it's coming to feedback, other than, hey, what is your opinion? It should be, what's your feedback on the effectiveness of whatever I'm showing you for whatever my intended goal is? Like, do you think my product is helping me get to that goal? And that's a great way to ask the question to get feedback, as long as you know what your goal is.
Now, I know getting feedback can be difficult for some people. I know, especially in the design field and creative fields, particularly fine arts. If you start getting into illustration and fine art, like most of the feedback you get is just personal preference, and it goes to UX portfolios specifically. I think that's a really good shine on that part of getting and receiving feedback, is everybody has an opinion on how your portfolio should look, and everybody, doesn't matter. It's take the majority of the information you're receiving and act upon it, but the rest is just, it's just hot air at that point, because
Yeah.
I personally don't like shades of red, but that's just me. There's no reason behind it. I just don't like some shades of red. It's fine. Don't take my opinion on it. Or as far as a portfolio, like I have a lot of people ask opinions on portfolio, or hey, can you look at it? And usually my feedback is, if there's nothing wrong with it, I don't want to tell somebody how to build their portfolio, because
Mm-hmm.
I'm building an interactive portfolio right now, and it's something that I don't see, and I don't see a lot of people using it, and
Mm-hmm.
it could be really annoying to a lot of hiring managers. Like I could see it being really off-putting to a lot of hiring managers, because maybe they do want words. Maybe they're somebody that just reads. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
that's their thing. Maybe they just want highlighted marks. And so I'm kind of taking a very visual and interactive approach to the highlighting of information.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you flatly on paper the information. Like it's something you actually have to interact with and do something with to flow through a case study. And it's like, yeah, I could see where a lot of hiring managers, especially if they're short on time, are going to get there and be like, yeah, that's cool, but no, like, bye. So,
Not going for it,
yeah.
buddy. Yeah.
And so I think giving people opinions on how to build something that's very personal anyway, you can't. If they want feedback, be just straightforward. Just, oh, I like it or I don't, and this is why. Like, tell them exactly why. Give them the specific information so that they can act upon it, or make a better judgment of if it's something they should consider anyway. So yeah, that's a big tip for anybody listening today is, if you're gonna give feedback, be very specific and just to the point, but don't be crass about it, because like you can get that too, where it's like,
Yeah.
wow, that was that was rough, thanks, I'm gonna go take a shower.
I'm logging off. I'm taking a shower. One thing that I experienced a little bit upon the first pieces of feedback I got on any sort of design work is that it tended to sting a little bit. Not like the you didn't like my work, but more of a I spent some time on this and I thought it was good.
Some people think
that sort of sting.
I totally understand, because for me, I mean, I did fine arts and illustration, I did graphic design, I'm used to getting feedback by this point in my life, but early on, I was more of the fine arts kid. Like I wanted to be an illustrator, I wanted to do this, and then you already get really terrible feedback from some professors. Like it's not that it's bad, it's just really cold, because they're giving, hundreds of people feedback throughout their career, thousands of people throughout their career, and it just becomes a thing. Like rifle it off, be straight to the point, but it can become a little sterile, like just cold. But as somebody new to a field, or new to creative expression, getting that feedback, it cuts you, because it's like, man, that was not only time, which is always important, you don't want to waste your time, but then it gets to the creative side, which is more personal, and you're like, you piece of shit, what was wrong with
Absolutely.
that? Like, but you can't take it personal. Like that's the biggest thing, especially with UX. Like if you get feedback on something, it's there to either help you. Some people do just try to cut you down, let's face it. Some people are just that way. Like some people are swinging the axe, they don't care. And you just can't take it personally, because you might meet one person that swings the axe at your legs and tries to take you out, and then the next person is like, they build you the little love sandwich, like, I really like this and this was really good, but okay, so this is what I didn't like, and here's the reason why, but overall. And so they kind of smash the bad news with a couple layers of good news, and it's a little easier to digest. But yeah, I don't know, do you take feedback personally, like even with your portfolio when you hear it?
Not anymore. You know what? The most recent piece of feedback I got was my brand new LinkedIn profile picture.
The yellow? Oh no, the newest one.
Yeah, so I did a whole visual rebrand of my account when I got my full-time role, and when I had my first day, I took all new pictures for the profile photo, the banner, and I reworked my headline. And my boss sent me a message, a very friendly message, and he said, "Hey, I hope this is okay for me to say. I just want to mention, I think your older one was better. I think the newer photo is too cheeky. The background is a little too distracting for me personally."
No, that's good.
Yeah, his product is in the. I mean, our product is in the business of helping job seekers get their first role in tech. So I need to realize that he has a level of experience with this, helping people get their first role.
Yeah, don't look at
Um,
my profile picture and use that as reference. It's literally a photo of me that I did.
AI generated
No, I took a
or
photo.
digital art. Okay.
Yeah, I took a photo and then I went into Illustrator and basically painted it with um, various transparent and opaque layers, and so you could still
Cool.
see the photo through the layers, but they are the overall color in that image. And so it looks a little bit AI, but it's very colorful, and
Mm,
it's not exactly like what LinkedIn people are
yeah.
using. Like I see a lot of just a solid background. I'm like, well, I mean, I'm not a solid colored person, so
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's not up to date to just use the black and white photos
Mm,
anymore. So
yeah. And my boss even said, like, yeah, keep your photo if you like it. I'm just saying, from my point of view, in my expertise, this is how I feel. Um, but and then I decided not to act on that feedback. Um, I had a specific vision of like what a job seeker's profile photo looks like, or a boot camp grad's job seeker's profile photo looks like on LinkedIn, and then what a currently full time like product or UX designer's photo looks like. I feel like there's a difference. I feel like you can kind of tell by looking at the profile
yeah,
picture. Like, is
yeah,
this a recent grad job seeker, or is this someone who's doing the work?
yeah, because they
Um,
all kind of look the same when you're new out of a boot camp. They all have that same look to it, where it's like, okay, I'm trying to get my foot in the door, and I want to seem this way. Yeah,
mhm.
but
And I kind of felt that, and I decided, like, you know what, the area I want to go into is really the startup and product world, but also like the career wellness world. And in order to push that I have any amount of expertise in the area, I want to make my visual brand match my target brand as much as possible. So I actually modeled my pose and my smile off of my boss's profile photo. So I thought that was really funny, because he's eluding, or he is exuding the I am already working and I'm in the startup world sort of image. And so that's what I wanted to approach. I don't want to have the recent grad profile picture anymore. And so for those reasons, I decided, you know what? I'm changing my style and I don't have to listen to my boss's feedback on that. So a great example of getting feedback. Maybe it stings a little bit, but I know the reasons for why I did what I did, and I'm not going to act on the feedback.
that's the best way to do it. It's
Mm.
no, that's funny. It took me a couple days after you changed your profile picture. I was like, wait, why do I never see posts from Will? And I realized I had been
Mm-hmm.
seeing him, but it was your
Mm-hmm.
picture was new.
Yeah. And Rod, if you're listening, thank you for the paycheck. I love you. um,
That was a good bit of news though, because I hadn't
mm,
seen any recent big layoff news, but there's still some designers from Black Forest Games that were recently laid off, and
mm,
they're still looking, and it's like, man, all right. So
yeah,
I know we'll
it's
touch
rough.
on it in a future episode, but any game companies having to lay off a bunch of people right now, you should take some notes from
Yeah.
probably going to be game of the year for sure soon here.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah.
I actually made a contact who works in gaming
Oh, cool. Yeah.
through PlayStation, not through network, not through LinkedIn. So who knows? Maybe I'll get to learn more from him soon.
Nice. I was playing Helldivers 2 with I can't remember. I think he's in Berlin, but he also works for a tech software company. So like it was just funny because we got talking. We have like a developer we were playing with, and he had said something. I'm like, oh, do you know this? I was talking about like God, what is it called? Now I can't remember. But he had whatever he said. It reminded me of something one of our developers was talking about. I'm like, you're a developer. What are you making? And then he was like, why do you have so much knowledge about this? And I was like, well, because I deal with developers every day. And he's like, what do you do? And I was like, at the moment I'm like a product designer, but I'm kind of on like the project management side of things as far as like just making sure we're on track at the moment. And
Mhm.
then he just started laughing and he's like, well, that's funny. And then the other guy was like, I work for a company in Berlin and this is what we do. And I'm like, wait, you make tag software? I'm like, that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
Nice.
So gaming's a small world though. It's crazy who you meet on there.
Mm. Yeah, it's funny. I only have one more idea to share about giving and receiving feedback. What about you? Are you
Um,
ready for the out of frame?
yeah, we can switch over soon.
Cool. I have one last thought about giving and receiving feedback as a young designer or a new one. So you should know that no one person's vision ends up matching the final product for anything you build, unless the CEO is super
You.
duper on top of making sure. Yeah, exactly. Unless it's you. So if you are not the CEO, or if the CEO is not heavily involved in product, chances are the final product is going to be some weird combination of everybody's ideas. It's not going to be anybody's complete vision, and that's fine. I was in charge of creating a module for an activity stream, and you could click on each activity and like expand that activity. There's a new edit button, trash button. If you edit it, something else pops up. So I was working on this thing for a little while, and in the feedback round, it was kind of torn apart, and it stung a little bit. That was kind of the first big thing I had worked on, but at the end, my boss said, "Hey, but like the way you did that specific item right there, its composition and its visual design of the card that you use, I love it. I want that to stay in the final design." So the early designs I'd come up with, I was really proud of them, but only one piece stuck, and it was the composition of one spot and the radius of the card itself, and whether it was a shadow or just a solid border. And I still think he is absolutely right. That design is in the live version of the product today, and I could not be more proud that I only took one iteration to get that piece that's currently in the product. So if you work on a bunch of things and it's torn apart, maybe the colors that you choose make it into the final product. Maybe the composition, maybe your word choice. Like chances are most of the things you create are not going to go into the final product unless you've racked up some good experience. But something will make it in. You will have some influence, and that should be your goal when you're new. Like get good enough to the point where you actually have an influence on what the final product is going to look like. Even if it's the close page button or the trash button, some sort of influence will make it through. And
You
that's
know,
okay, but it's
just
not all of it.
just to add on to what you're saying, we always talk about iterations. And the reason we have so many iterations with designs, especially as a junior when you're just starting, you're going to get a lot of feedback. Take that as like little bits of gold, and some of it, yeah, do it. Ignore it
Mhm.
and don't do anything with it. But again, collect all the feedback you're getting and just kind of weigh the importance or weigh the actual impact of that feedback. Because again, like Will said, you might design something once, get iteration, and that's what sticks, but something changed between the two iterations. Something changed and it's based off of feedback. And so it's super important. But also, because we talk about iterations and feedback, I don't even know how many iterations I have of like just cards, just different styles of cards and different styles of buttons and different styles of icons. And it just, you might get the card to stick, but later that icon is what's going
Mhm.
to be picked apart. And so you have to get
Mhm.
used to the sting. I think you build a little thick skin with feedback and you'll be okay. But don't take any of it to heart, really, because it's just there to help you or frustrate you. I think is a good way to
Mhm.
put it. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
Cool.
yeah,
I think that wraps up our section on giving and receiving feedback.
sweet.
Um,
Good first episode. Glad we're
yeah.
back. I was excited. And yeah, if you catch this episode or you missed it, our next episode is going to be on Wednesdays. and it'll be the out of frame. So you should check it out again on Wednesday. And if you're catching this on Wednesday, this is the out of. It will be the out of frame episode, and you can come back and listen to this one. So,